I am SA with the Author Sesh Corner and co-host Wren Nightingale.
Hello.
And this weekend we are doing our author spotlight, and Pandora is our spotlight author.
Hello.
All right. So tell us a little about yourself and what kind of genre do you seem to gravitate towards?
I'm so bad at talking about myself.
We're doing the same questions we did the last time to ourselves, so
Yeah.
So I'm just basically the weird kid. Like, I don't know how else to describe myself. And I write mainly dark romance. So, dark paranormal romance at the moment.
which seems to be like a hot genre right now too. That and mafia romance.
Yes.
What was your inspiration to start writing?
So I have always loved writing. I've always loved being able to create kind of my own little universes. And I actually fell out of it for about 10 years. And recently, very recently, earlier this year, I decided, you know what? I need to pick up writing again because that was some of the best therapy I've ever gotten in my life. And I felt like it was going to be kind of one of those things that kind of would help me self-regulate my own insanity. And it's totally helped. I feel way more organized than I've ever been in my life. And I think I have the books that I've written to thank for that, which is kind of wild.
So, what is the name of your book, and is it a series?
So there's actually 2 books out now. There's Dark Restart, which is book 1 of my Otherworldly series. So yes, it's a series. And then Resetting Shadows just dropped a few days ago, and that is book 2 of the same series. The series will have at least 4 books. I know for sure 4. It depends on how much I can fit into books 3 and 4 on whether or not I will do a 5th.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So book is up in the air. So you're writing, what is it called? Quartet? Is that what they call it?
Yeah. As of right now, it's looking like it's going to be a quartet. It might gain another book.
That's so exciting, though.
So let's look back at your first book. How many drafts did you go through to get to the finished product?
You're going to be shocked by this, but 1.
Essay.
I literally have had this plot line in my head for about the last 8-9 years. So I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to accomplish. I knew what I wanted in there. And I literally just took it and went, here it is. It's on paper. And I went through and read everything. And I'm like, wow, this really doesn't even need any fixing. And I gave it to my beta readers and they loved it. And I went, okie dokie. Well, cool. There's not that many rewrites then.
That's luck.
Yeah, that is very lucky.
Yeah, it was, because book 2 definitely was not that easy.
Yeah, I still never got to finish the last few chapters. I happened to be a beta for book 2, and it was really exciting.
Yes. Book two kind of went off the rails.
Oh, exciting.
That was my bathtub book.
I love it. I love that so much.
Saying that out loud, though, now it kind of sounds a little weird.
We're all weird. I don't know why you're worried about that.
That's funny. What was the hardest part of the writing process?
Honestly, the hardest part of the writing process was, in particular, one of my characters, Asriel, was very, very difficult for me to write. He's ironically my favorite character to write, but also just kind of, I like to say my characters talk to me, and it's almost like he talks to me, but it's in this weird cryptic code that I don't know how to break sometimes, and I'm like, sir? What are we doing right now? So, yeah. Him specifically.
Was that for book 1 and book 2?
Yeah, that's been pretty much everything so far, because I've started writing book 3 and he's still very much that way.
To kind of like slide into that, I remember you and I were talking about it a little bit, but for the audience, would you say the whole passage where Phoenix and Asriel is in the warehouse, would you consider that to be your hardest passage, or would that not be your hardest passage that you wrote?
That was actually, believe it or not, one of the easiest ones I wrote. I put a lot of myself into that one. So that was actually kind of one of the easier ones for me to write. That one kind of just flew out of my brain and onto the paper.
So which passage which passage was your hardest then to write?
Oh, I would say the hardest one to write was probably, let's see. It was in book 2. Hang on, let me consult my notes here. Because I'm having a total brain fart. Of course I am.
It happens.
Right? I'm like, so this is a thing. This is a thing that happens quite frequently. Oh, yes. Okay, so the hardest passage for me to write was actually, book 2 and chapter 4, believe it or not, was really hard for me to do.
I'm trying.
Chapter 4 is when she kind of forces Orion and Corbin to resolve their shit.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of hard for me, because I was like, okay, how do I go about this? And I spent a long time actually thinking about that one, and okay, how do I set this up?
And they still seem like they have tension.
Mm-hmm.
A little. Not nearly as bad as it was, which is good for Phoenix, but
I mean, she's still kind of dealing with it, but in a different way now.
yeah.
So I'm kind of skipping around on questions, and I think she is too. So,
yeah. Just trying to see what fits in better.
Okay, how has your writing evolved since you began publishing? Since you got 2 books out now?
I feel like my writing has evolved just in kind of fluidity. I feel like the words flow a lot easier. I'm spending a lot less time Googling how to say things properly, because sometimes it comes out of my head and it goes on the page and I'm like, I go back and read it back later and I'm like, that makes no sense. But that happened a lot less in book 2. I think my hardest part of book 2 was, when I would stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning writing, and I'd go back and read it the next day and go, okay, that doesn't even belong in this chapter. Were my characters just driving the car and I was being dragged behind it? Like, what is happening?
How, would you say that your books have changed you personally in any sort of way?
Absolutely. And I feel almost like Phoenix has become kind of an alter ego for me, and her character kind of reminds me that, no, I am in charge of my own life, and I can stand up and go, nope, don't think so. And kind of, it has made me a lot less afraid to use my voice, because I am what I like to call a recovering people pleaser. So I very much feel like writing her character specifically has given me kind of the guts to go, you know what? I don't really like this plan. We're going to change it. And I don't care really who it involves. It's just, no, I don't like that. We're going to, I will compromise with you, but like, no, we need to change that.
So,
This one.
yeah, I see it.
Okay.
What was your research process like?
So believe it or not, I really kind of didn't have a research process. I kind of just wanted to do something different. Like I wanted, so because my book is, you know, dark paranormal romance and it's got vampires and werewolves and shifters and everything else, I didn't want it to be the same cookie cutter version of those things that you see so often. I wanted something a little bit different, a little more modern, a little bit more, it's almost a little more complicated, but it's not.
Right.
And that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to kind of give it a different voice, give it a different theme than everything we read so often when books involve vampires and werewolves.
And I did get that too. It was definitely like I don't want to compare it to Crescent City because Crescent City wasn't like as straightforward as your story was, I should say. If I say it in not a kind way, but in a what was censored way. But I liked the modernness to it of like, you know, these creatures are here, they're here everyday life, and like they're the people that you least expect them to be whatever creature they are. And I really liked you adding that modern twist of like they get into a car, they go on vacation, or you know, like all that stuff. So I really did like that touch to it.
Yeah, and that was kind of my goal is, you know, if these things did exist in real life, or if they do, or whatever, you know, however you want to think about that, they're gonna blend in with the humans. They're not gonna make a spectacle out of themselves. They're gonna operate the same way that we do. So why am I gonna write them to be like these crazy, you know, completely inhuman appearing beings when it's like, okay, but that just makes you a target for the humans. No, we're gonna blend in.
Yeah. So now that your book's been out, your second one just got released, how well have you been personally handling any feedback or any criticism that you've gotten for them, if you have gotten any from them?
So, interestingly enough, I was expecting a lot of criticism. I was expecting to get people that wouldn't like how I handled the vampires and the werewolves and, you know, the topic we just talked about. I was completely expecting that right off the bat. I have gotten none. Everybody seems to really like that aspect so far. The one part of criticism that I did receive was I did have somebody say that some parts of the book were a little bit hard to keep up with, but they weren't sure if it was my writing or if their brain was just kind of going, nope, we've already forgotten. So, I mean, if you can consider that criticism, that would be the only thing I've really gotten thus far.
I would totally keep that in mind because there is a lot that goes on because you have a lot of characters. So, I mean, there's times where I have to, like, I get Callum and Galen sometimes confused. Like, for some reason, I keep thinking they're the same people and they're really not. So, it might just be that some people have a hard time processing when there's a lot of characters.
Yeah, and I knew that was kind of going to be a challenge going into it. Mainly just because I honestly did not start this book thinking, yeah, we're just going to have 7 main characters and roll with it. I literally started it going, yeah, I'll probably pick 3, maybe 4 to be like main characters in this whole thing. No, we ended up with all 7 and they all took on a life of their own, and yeah.
Corbin didn't even start off in the beginning. He got added in.
Uh-huh.
He got added in as a side character and then just kind of became a staple because I really, really liked him and I wanted him to stay. So I'm like, well, we're writing you in now.
I do like Corbin's psychotic personality.
Yeah, he's very fun to write for me.
How long did complete? I guess this would be for book 1 and 2, but how long did it take to from initial concept to publish?
So well, like I said, I'd had the plot line in my brain. Good Lord, the words aren't wording.
I mean, they're speaking to you every day.
Yeah. I had the concept in my brain for about 8 or 9 years. But when I finally decided to sit down and write it and go, you know what, screw it, somebody's probably going to enjoy this dumb little vampire book. I sat down to start writing it in February, and I finished it at the end of May for the first book. And then the second book I started right after I published book 1, and I just finished it the beginning of this week.
So you pushed out both this year?
Yes. Yes, and book 3 is probably going to be...
Push, and they push out 5 or 6 books, and I'm like, how?
So I like to blame that one on my ADHD, because when I'm in the mood to write, I very much hyper-focus, and I'll sit down and I'll push out like 5 to 10 chapters in a day. And then I'll kind of go back and reread them when I'm maybe not totally feeling like writing, but I'm feeling creative. And I'll clean them up a little bit as they need it, or add things or take things away as I feel like is needed. And then that's just kind of the whole process. Is I usually will push out like 5 or 6, at a minimum, chapters in a day. And so most of what takes up the rest of the time is just, I'm not feeling it, my brain isn't working, my characters aren't talking to me properly, and so I'm like, okay, I gotta walk away from it. If I could sit down and do that every single day, I probably would have had the whole series plus another one out by now, but my brain does not work like that.
You have another series in mind after this one?
I do.
Ooh.
I do. And it's very much still has the badass FMC. Very much still has kind of the same vibe, but not really. There's some differences. It's not a paranormal one, but it's gonna be interesting. I will say this much: I've met a couple of people that may be willing to be my subjects for the covers, because I actually want real people on the covers, and I don't want art of people. Like I want to have actual photos, and I've met a couple people that are like, I'm down. I'm like, okay, cool.
That's what I did. I'm on the cover of mine.
I love that so much. I love that so much.
My sister and one of her friends are going to be my subjects for book 2. It's going to be very exciting.
I love that. I love that.
So I 100% back that idea, because then it's original too. Like,
yep.
Not out there.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, you see a lot of the books that have people on the cover, it's like, it's art. And I love art. But I kind of wanted to go a different direction and kind of go, how can we make this a little different? Because I do want people on there. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
For your first book, do you think that there's anything that, after you publish it, do you think there's anything that you would have maybe changed now that you've finished book 2, or are you happy with what you have with book 1 and it's absolutely perfect?
I'm pretty happy with how both of them turned out. I think the only thing that I would change out of either books is I had in my brain what is a huge missed opportunity, but I may still put it in. I'm gonna still put it in book 3. Is I forgot I was going to add at the end of book 2 somewhere where Corbin calls Phoenix his little monster again, because I feel like that I want that to be a theme. And I totally forgot to throw it in there. So it's gonna have to come back in book 3, because yeah, I got to the end of book 2, published it, and went, oh, I forgot.
What part of your story really stuck with you and why? And it could be, since you have 2 books out, maybe name one from each.
So I feel like something that stuck with me with book 1 was kind of Phoenix's struggle to kind of find herself again after everything happened, and after she had been put through everything she'd been put through. And I feel like I related to that because I've been there. So some of that was a little bit pulled from my own experiences, and I feel like that kind of stuck out to me as, you know, I feel like people that have felt that way are really gonna, you know, resonate with it. And then book 2, the part that stuck with me from book 2 was, shoot. Hang on. I gotta bring up my notes again.
Hey, it's okay. Me too.
Like, I had it in my head, and then it just left and went, you're funny. The part that stuck out to me in book 2 was where they kind of come back from Phoenix being an unhinged little chaos gremlin out in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And there's that realization that there was a huge shift that just happened. Like, something changed. Nobody can really put their finger on it, but something changed. And I think that shift is kind of one of those pivot points that really stuck out to me in kind of a big way.
Yeah, I want to say, because the first time it was just Orion and Corbin, and it was her way of trying to get them to resolve, I feel like. And then the second time it was all of them.
Yeah.
So I definitely felt the shift more after all of them, but you could also see the shift between the other 2 and how it kind of helped mellow them out.
Yeah. They definitely mellowed out after all of that.
Well, fun game of Cat and Mouse.
Not all the way, but you know.
Yeah.
So you can choose one from each book, or you can choose one so far in the series. But who was your least favorite character to write about, and why?
I feel like there were times when Callum was kind of my least favorite, because he is that completely unpredictable person. And he's, you know, there are times where he's very kind and understanding and insightful, and then there's other times where he's just off his freaking rocker. And while it's fun to write that, it's at the same time very kind of off-putting to write that, because it's like, okay, do we ever know what this little maniac is going to do? And it's like, we already know Corbin is he's just gonna do what he's gonna do, and he's just completely unhinged, and it's fine. And there's a reason behind everything that he deals with and goes through and does. Callum is very unpredictable with how he kind of reacts to things. And so I wouldn't say least favorite. I would probably say most difficult at theme-wise. Because I really kind of don't have a least favorite. I mean, unless it's the villains, because you're supposed to hate them anyway. But
I mean, I kind of like my villains, but that's just me.
I kind of do too. I kind of like how my villains have kind of taken on a life of their own, where everybody's like, I hate them, and I'm like, you're supposed to.
Okay. So, did you have to cut anything specific from the final version? Like from like any of your drafts before you published?
In the second book, yes, there were about 3 chapters where, again, this is the 2 o'clock in the morning me speaking. There were the characters just went completely off topic and off the rails, and I ended up cutting those parts because it didn't fit where the chapter was going. And I'll actually be sharing those to my TikTok here in a little while, because I did purposefully screenshot them and save them. So
Okay.
I could start a little mini series of, here's some of my 2 a.m. bloopers.
Those would be great. I would love those.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be posting some of those because they're funny, but they did not fit the vibe.
So your genre is pretty unique. Like I think your book is one of the books where I'm like, oh, I haven't read a book that's like this before. So with that being something that's starting to become more popular, what advice would you give someone who's writing within that genre that you're in?
My best advice is do something to make it interesting. Do something to make it different. Do your research. You know, read some of the things that fit in that genre. And this kind of goes for any genre, really. I would say, you know, read some books that fit in that genre and kind of ask yourself, okay, how can I make this a little bit different? How can I make it a little bit more unique?
I like that.
Yeah, because then it kind of, it stands out a little bit better, you know, and it is that thing that people go, oh, well, this is new.
Yeah.
And that I don't think that hurts in any genre, honestly.
Do you think about your audience, or do you write primarily for yourself?
I definitely write primarily for myself. And kind of I just end up publishing and going, well, I hope people like it. And I think it's also because the series that I'm currently writing is something that's been stuck in my head for so long. My next series, I have definitely taken a lot of my readers' feedback into account. So I think the next series will very much be one that I write mainly for my readers. Not so much for me. So I guess it kind of depends on what I'm working on.
I mean, honestly.
Just make sure though that you do like what you're writing, because then you're not going to enjoy writing it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm already loving what I'm going to be writing for my next series. I've already got notes, and I'm sitting here going, this is going to be good.
That's awesome.
So before you started writing, or even while you were writing, let's just go to your first book, right? Were there any books that you read before or while you were writing that was your favorite and maybe helped kind of inspire you a little bit?
So, yes and no. Usually when I get stuck in a really bad bout of writer's block, I will start reading something else just to kind of shake up my brain a little bit and go, okay, redirect for a little while, because my brain will usually come full circle back to things. When I was writing the first one, I did actually read Fallen Air by T.C. Culbreth, and I loved it. It's completely different from what I was working with. But I feel like that just kind of stepped in and got me out of my head enough to focus back in on what I was doing. And then there were a couple other paranormal themed books that I read through the process, just to kind of go, like I said, to kind of, look at, okay, is my stuff different, or am I following this same, mythology, basically, we'll call it. And it was very much just instilled in my head that, nope, it's still very much different. So it did inspire me to kind of keep going, because even the books I read were a little bit different than your typical, paranormal themed books. So I was like, okay, cool. We're on the right track.
To kind of go along with that question, you said you read some paranormal books. Were those at all any part of your inspiration to help you start writing? Like, did you read any that kind of was like, you know what, I can write my own type of book like this?
Honestly, no. I really only got back. So I know I had said I got out of writing for about 10 years. I had kind of fallen out of reading too. So when I started writing book one, that was when I got back into reading on kind of a large scale. Like, I had read a couple of books here and there, maybe over the years, but it was mainly reading books out loud to my kid at bedtime. It wasn't so much on, the scale it is now, because writing reignited, I know words, reignited my love for reading. So I was like, okay, we've got kind of a, I want to say synchronicity, but that is not the word I'm looking for. It kind of feeds each other, is what I'm trying to say. A symbiotic relationship. There we go. That's what I was looking for.
All right. So this one, did you use a functional outline, or was it chaos?
Oh, it was chaos. I entirely flew by the seat of my pants.
Now, was it for both books, or all the books, or was it just for the first one and now you're kind of like, this is what I want?
No, it's pretty much for all the books, because I have a basic idea of what I want to convey in each book, but I'm not writing it down. I'm just kind of letting the characters lead me to wherever I need to go. And I think, honestly, I'm having more fun writing it that way than I think I ever did when I was writing before, years ago. And I had an outline. It's almost like this is a freeing experience where I feel like my outline almost held me back from doing more, if that makes sense.
Right. So I know you and I personally talked about it, and I'm not sure who else you've talked about it in our group, but do you show or talk to anyone about your progress? And I think we kind of know who, but for the audience.
So I usually, the way I do my books for my beta readers is kind of weird. So when I finish 2 to 5 chapters and I know they're kind of edited basically to where I want them to be, I will put them into a Google Doc where all of my beta readers can go read. And so I get feedback as I'm going. And usually before I move them over to that Google Doc that everybody can access as far as my beta readers are concerned, definitely I talk to and communicate with my editor and co-author, Iris Ashford, who is an amazing human being. and has a couple of books out of her own that are also absolutely amazing. And yeah, we communicate back and forth and kind of go, okay, this sounds a little awkward, or okay, this feels like it needs something else. Or I'll call her when I have writer's block, and I've had writer's block for a few days, and I'll go, help me. And she's like, okay, where are you trying to get to? So she sees the whole process.
So she is considered a co-author?
Yes, because she does help me out of those writer's blocks, and she'll literally just start typing in the Google Doc that I work on. And that's why I work out of Google Docs mostly, because I can have her in there with me and kind of have her help me get through those kind of little tough spots. And there's a lot of times where she'll start a paragraph and she'll get like a sentence and a half in, and I'm like, oh, I got it. And she'll just let me take over. But I do list her as a co-author because, I mean, there's a lot of times where it's like, without her, yeah, these books would probably take me a lot longer to get through. And I very much appreciate her help and everything she does to kind of brainstorm with me, because we'll even sit on the phone and just talk about whatever I'm getting stuck on, or, you know, hey, I want something to happen between this and this, you know, what do you think? So definitely listing her as a co-author was a must in my book. She's mad at me for it because she's like, but you did all the hard things. And I'm like, but you helped more than you know.
She actually helped write it, then she's a co-author.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I told her.
She's an editor.
Yeah, she was just like, no, but you did all the hard things and you did majority of the work. And I'm like, I can do the majority of the work and you still helped write it. Like, I'm still putting you on here. It's not negotiable.
How do you come up with character names and like the process for that?
So, ironically, when I started coming up with character names for this particular series, I knew I wanted my FMC's name to be Phoenix, because she does very much rise from the ashes. And it may be a little bit on the nose, but I loved it because I was like, well, they could call her Nyx for short. It's cute. I like it. It fits her. She's got that fiery kind of personality anyway. Super. That's what we're going with. And then I knew I wanted one of the MMCs to be named Azriel. And when I kind of started writing, I literally just had placeholders for names for like the first 4 chapters. And I was like, you know what? I want Azriel to be the kind of more preserved one, because Azriel is the angel of death. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I very much wanted that to be the way that went. And the way he's evolved and everything is great. He even references it in the second book, which is, I had to. But as far as the rest of the names, Cairo's name just kind of popped in my head. I was like, you know what? This suits him. I love it. The rest of them, I actually went on to different name meaning websites and kind of looked for meanings of names that I liked. So Galen is of Celtic origin. Corbin is one of the derivatives of, you know, the birds. So it's, you know, raven or crow is the meaning of that one. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was extremely fitting. And then Callum was just kind of, I liked how it sounded. I liked how it kind of just flowed with how he is. And then Orion, I picked Orion because as a kid, I always loved looking up at the stars, and I could pick out all the constellations. I was pointing out constellations to my mom when I was like 3 and 4 years old, and that was one of my first hyperfixations. So Orion was always the first constellation that I would find in the sky, because it would give me my bearing for where everything else was. And I feel like Orion is kind of that person for Phoenix, especially when she's kind of dipping back into herself and she's actually willing to talk to somebody. It's usually him. So, yeah.
Well, now I see Orion in a different light. Because at first I was like, he's kind of like my bottom 4, but now he's kind of second place. So
I love it. I love it.
At first, what are you talking about?
Mine is Callum, but you know I gotta have that unhinged character. I like Corbin, but he's a little much.
He's
so
a little
Callum
much.
is my unhinged character.
I love that so much. Yeah, Corbin's a little much for a lot of people. It's fine. And I kind of wrote him that way on purpose. Like, he's gonna be too much for some people, and that's fine. That's fine.
That's okay. So I know you mentioned that you kind of went on like this long years of just not writing at all. What would you say your first memory was, like, of you starting to write?
So, honestly, I think my first memory of me starting to write, like, seriously and not just, you know, I'm gonna write this goofy little 1-page long whatever this is, was I actually took a creative writing class in high school, and my teacher was amazing. And every time he would grade my papers, he's like, how are you coming up with this? And I'm like, I don't know. The ideas just pop in my brain. And he's like, you're really good. Like, you could go somewhere with this. And I'm like, yeah, okay. You know, and I'm thinking, all right, he's just being nice. It's fine. And I never actually took it seriously up until earlier this year. But honestly, when I did publish that first book and everybody that was reading it was absolutely loving it, I was like, okay, I think he might have been onto something. So now those words play back in my head quite frequently when I feel like, well, am I really succeeding at this? And I just hear my creative writing teacher in my head, and I'm like, nope, we're gonna keep going.
I'm happy you liked yours, because my creative writing teacher, like, I kind of liked her, but everybody in my school absolutely hated her, and I didn't know why. But yeah, that's great that you had a great teacher to help you with that.
Yeah, I lucked out. I went to a high school where pretty much all of the artistic type classes were taught by really, really cool people. Like, my art teacher was awesome. My ceramics teacher was awesome.
Same
like
here.
My drama teacher was amazing. My drama teacher used to be a member of the Blue Man Group.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, that's awesome. It also kind of gave me a life hack to the final in that class, though, because I set my entire thing to music and there was no dialogue. We had to write our own play. And, yep, mine was all set to music. Guess who got an A?
So this is going to be one of the last questions, and then I guess second to last, because we do have one more after this, but pertaining to the actual book, this is going to be the last question, and we're going to start wrapping it up.
Okay.
Is there a particular scene or passage you're incredibly proud of? Name one from both books.
Ooh. Okay, so honestly, the warehouse with Azrael from the first book, I was real proud of that one. Not gonna lie.
That was really good. That was probably one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, I really liked how that one turned out. I went back and read it and went, oh, holy cow. Oh, okay. And then the second book, I'm actually really quite proud of some of the parts of the end, because even though it's, you know, this traumatic thing, it's like I was dreading writing it. Mm-hmm. And when I went back to reread it, I went, okay. Like, I just drew myself into my own words when I went back to reread it. And so I'm like, all right. So yeah, the last, I would say, 5-ish chapters, I'm actually quite proud of.
So the ones
5 or
I haven't
6
read yet.
Yeah, you should go read those.
Yeah.
All right. Well, to wrap it up, for people who are watching who maybe don't know how to find you, what platforms do you promote on?
Mainly just here. On TikTok. I have an Instagram. I'm rarely ever over there just because Instagram is so very hard to grow on and it's so very hard to reach the right audience. So 90% of my videos get posted on TikTok, and my link tree in my bio will take you directly to my author page on Amazon. So yeah, I'm very much TikTok and Amazon. Hi, I'm here. Instagram, I'm sometimes over there. If you're lucky, you might catch me. But honestly, I may open Instagram once a week. If that.
That's kind of more than me, because sometimes I forget I have it.
Oh, I do forget I have it. And I have a personal page over there too, and I don't even check that one anymore. I'm like, I'm just kind of over it.
I'm big on Facebook, but that's also where I started. TikTok, I've only been on TikTok for 2 months, so Facebook is where I really started pushing and promoting.
Yeah, and I have a Facebook page for my author stuff. Am I ever on there? No.
No.
I started kind of staying away from Facebook just because it's become such a toxic place.
Yep.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pretty much avoid this. Like, I'll post some videos every once in a while, but I'm not gonna dig into it and go nuts with it, because I don't want to sift through all of those comments, because there's a bunch of keyboard commandos that just think they're right all the time, and they drive me up a wall.
Yep, I agree.
I leave some groups because people get a little.
Yeah, I might check Facebook like once a month if I'm real bored.
All right.
Well, I guess, is there any questions from the audience that would like to ask Pandora something before we sign off?
You can't see me because my camera's off, but I'm sitting here tapping my fingers together.
You're okay. I'll do it for you.
There we go.
Am I old enough to read your book?
Oh my God, yes. We've been over this. You're old enough to be in my Discord. You're old enough to read the book.
If you're 18 and older, you can read the book.
Yes.
Although if you're younger and you say you're 18, that's your problem.
Hey, I want to let you guys know TikTok's about to kick us off.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it just sent me a notification that we have less than 4 minutes and it's going to end the live automatically.
Why?
There was one day I went an hour and a half. I don't know.
I think if you don't do the puzzle piece thing, I think that's when it automatically kicks you off.
Well, I
Oh.
didn't. So.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Rain, stop it.
All right. No other questions.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We upload weekly to YouTube and Spotify. We are under the Author Sesh Corner. Follow us on there if you didn't catch it on here, or you caught the end of it.
Awesome sauce. Thank you guys for having me. This was
thank
fun.
you for being with us.
Absolutely.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.